Welcome, listener. How are you? I'm glad you're doing well, and I'm glad you had a good week. Welcome back to Aaron's Opinion, the podcast for blind people, where we talk about critical issues in the blindness community. Today, for the first time, and probably today for the first time for listeners, we are joined by someone from the beautiful Caribbean island of Bermuda. As a matter of fact, as I said, this is the first Bermudian I've met, and this is someone who is actually from Bermuda and was actually born there. Brandon Fox, welcome to Aaron's Opinion. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. Quick correction. Bermuda is not a part of the Caribbean or
Oh,
in the Caribbean.
okay. Well, that's true. You would say it's in the Atlantic, or you call it in the Atlantic?
Yeah,
Okay, so
we're about
that's
we're about
that's
like
true.
700 miles off of the coast of North Carolina.
Okay, that's true. So basically, that's true. The Atlantic island, we can say.
Yeah.
As you can tell, I've never been there. I've heard of it, but I've never been. So what can you tell me? By the way, let's start off with your blindness. What can you tell me about, for one thing, growing up blind on Bermuda, and what that whole situation entailed? Tell us about that.
Well, I was born with a condition known as bilateral retinopathy of prematurity, and so my retinas are very thin and can be detached very easily. Now, I have only recently lost the majority of my sight. I'm not 100% blind, but I have a decent bit of sight left in my left eye, but my right eye is just uh, is completely blurred in the center and some vision out of my peripheral. But growing up here it's been hard because there's no there's no laws here in Bermuda like there are in the U.S. to protect against people with disabilities to protect against people with disabilities. So there's been a lot of discrimination throughout the years.
Hmm. That both concerns me and it doesn't surprise me, sadly. I will tell you that as a successful American, I too have faced profound discrimination. So silly question. Um, since you're a Bermudian, so like um, I forget. And
Mhm.
pardon the silliness, but so is Bermuda an independent nation, or is it just kind of functioning as part of Britain? How does that work?
Bermuda is a British dependent territory.
That's okay. That's what I thought. That's why I was trying. I couldn't come up with the terminology, but I thought it had some connection to Britain. Okay, so
Yeah.
then I mean the reason I'm asking then is so then aren't you technically a British citizen by law? I mean,
Technically, yes. But if I do move out to the UK, which is what right now I'm trying to do,
right?
I'm trying to move out to the UK, but I still have to apply for UK citizenship once I get out there.
Huh.
But the process is a lot easier if I show proof that I am a Bermudian.
Well, if you have a passport that says Bermuda, I think that would prove to me that you're a
Yeah.
Bermudian.
From what I know, the process is first I got to show my passport, and then the other thing is I have to have someone who's been living out in the UK for the last 10 years that is not a family member that knows me, that can vouch,
Oh boy.
which
Oh boy.
I have somebody out there who can do that for me. So,
I see. I see. So, but I
but
mean, is it
the
just
issue
simply a
is
long? Oh
getting
yes.
the issue is for me is getting out there because Bermuda is an extremely expensive place to live.
Right. Hmm. Okay.
Bermuda is one of the number one places in the world for cost of living.
Really? Okay.
Yeah,
Well, I mean, that doesn't surprise me, but that's still. I mean, I thought there were places more expensive than Bermuda. I mean, now on this particular island, or on the island of Bermuda, I will kind of retrace my steps a little. and tell you
Hmm.
that I volunteered years ago in St. Lucia in the Eastern Caribbean. So,
Hmm.
I mean, again, I've never been to Bermuda, so the only thing I would kind of picture is an environment sort of similar to St. Lucia, where it's like a big island. But I mean, is there like on Bermuda, is there like a city, like a capital, or is it just like a big town? How would you describe that from a
Well,
blindness perspective?
Bermuda is actually not one island. It's a cluster of islands, so it's an archipelago. It's a archipelago. I can't say that word.
Maybe the word might be, is it and I think I'm getting it right. Is it archipelago or archipelago
Yes,
or something like that? Archipelago, I think.
archipelago.
It's either the word we're
Archipelago.
looking for, guys, here is it's either we're going to get a lot of comments about this episode. It's either there's going to be I already see the hateful emails right now. Um, you're very good natured.
You should know
I
this.
am,
You're Bermudian.
or even better, any British person should know what an art should know that Bermuda is an archipelago or something like that. But
The thing is, not a lot of people even know that Bermuda. Have only some people have only heard of the Bermuda Triangle and not of the island itself.
well, as no, I mean I've heard of both. I've heard of the Bermuda Triangle story, but that gets us way off. That gets us way off. No pun intended. That really gets us off course. And then I've heard of the island, which of course I
The thing
know.
is, the Bermuda Triangle is a trade route. It's a
Right.
3 point trade route from Bermuda to the U.S. to. I'm not even going to try and remember. It's been
So,
years.
all right. So, at any rate, it's a group of islands. Okay.
Yes.
And so, what are some of these islands
So,
called? And are you living on the largest of the islands?
so the islands are broken up into parishes. There's
Okay.
9 parishes. We have. Oh, jeez. I'm gonna. So you got Somerset, Southampton, Warwick, Paget, Pembroke. Wait, I'm missing one. Devonshire, Hamilton, Smiths, and St. George's. I
Hmm.
might be missing one or two. I don't know if
Well,
that's 9. I
well,
wasn't
you know
counting.
what? Number one, I wasn't counting. Number two, because I'm not a Bermudian, I wouldn't know if you missed one.
Oh, there's 9,
Okay.
and I
Well,
wasn't counting. So,
well, that
but
is fine.
the
Okay.
main
Mm-hmm.
the main city is Hamilton.
Okay, so Hamilton would be like the capital where like there would be like
Yes,
embassies and major buildings. So Hamilton, Bermuda, basically. Yes.
we have the town. Hamilton has the town hall and all the other important buildings, the
Mm-hmm.
courthouse and everything else.
Right.
And then we have Dockyard, which is up in Somerset.
Mm.
That's the one of our major ports.
Mm-hmm.
So we have two major ports in Bermuda. We have one in Dockyard, and we have the Hamilton port, the port in
Right.
Hamilton.
Right. Excellent. Excellent. Okay. Well, back to kind of where we were going. So basically, there's been a lot of discrimination. If you want, can you talk? And you don't need to give all of the personalities, but can you talk about some times in your life to educate people about how serious this problem is? About times where you faced discrimination. Do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, I can talk about that.
Talk about it.
So, at one point when I was in my primary school, I was trying to get
What's that?
uh, a scribe.
Ah, okay.
So someone who will read and write for me
Uh-huh.
because I couldn't see the board, so they'd read the board out to me, read my paperwork out to me, and then write down my answers for me.
Mm-hmm.
So I was trying to get a scribe, and for the first 5 years of being in that school, the principal of the school was fighting against me getting a para
Hmm. Mm.
because the principal thought that it would come out of the school's budget.
And what does British law? Let's just simplify it by saying what does British law say about education and what do you know about the British laws as they
Well,
relate to discrimination? The
The
reason
thing
I'm
is, though,
asking is I was
Bermuda
talking.
has Bermuda is a British dependent territory, but we have our own laws.
Ah,
So there
okay.
are laws, if I remember correctly, there are laws that protect people with disabilities and stuff like that in Britain, in the UK, but there aren't any in Bermuda.
That's a problem.
Yes,
Hmm. Well, I'm very frustrated by that, and I'm very sorry about that. And what was the end result of this fight? Hmm.
I got a para.
Well, good. Yeah,
The
it's
end
very
result was I got a para. So
well, good. Good.
that was good.
And was it just a fellow student who was willing to transcribe to help you?
No, we it ended up a group was ended up being created that had that brought that trained people to be paras that provided paras for visually impaired and blind students around the islands.
Hmm. Hmm. Good.
So right now, there's only a certain number of paras that work on the island, but mainly because there's not that many. Bermuda has about 4,000 blind people on the island,
Really? Out of how many?
but
What is the population of Bermuda?
if I remember correctly, the last time I think they did the count was back in 2017, I think, and it was like at 77,000, I think.
Okay, so that's if it's an island and you have 4,000 blind people, that's quite a high number. Do you think so?
But the thing is, most of the people who are blind were either went blind later on in their life or are going blind due to old age and stuff like that. So that's the majority of the blind people on the island. People who are like living in retirement homes and stuff like that. So you don't really see blind people around in Bermuda.
Huh, huh. Okay, all right.
But in the last couple of years, we've had more younger kids who've been born blind. So like in for my 18 years of life, we've had more blind people in Bermuda. That
Right.
it seems like it, at least, because we've had more like me in my year alone. In my year bracket alone, we had uh, four blind people in
Hmm.
my school,
I
and then
see.
years underneath me, we had like I think there's a total of like 10 or 12 blind students in the system right now.
Hmm. Wow. Well, that's all very interesting information. All right. So, and how old are you now?
Uh, I go 19 next month,
Okay, you
so
turned
I'm 18.
you okay, fine, good. Um, that is fine. So, all really fascinating. All right. So then, what happened after you graduated from high school?
Uh, Technically, I didn't graduate from high
I
school.
am sorry. I am sorry. I didn't know that. I'm so sorry.
No,
Okay.
no, it's
Um,
fine.
okay.
Technically, I didn't graduate. I could have graduated, but the thing was, my grades were so bad, and I, for me, in my last years of school, I had just been beaten down and just knocked down so many times that I had just ended up just giving up in total on school. Like I felt that the school system wasn't in it for me, so why should I be there fighting for it if they're not even gonna do their job and
Yeah.
help me?
I completely understand. Um,
So I ended
but
up just giving up at the end because I was just like, it's not worth putting myself through all this stress for nothing.
right, right. Yeah, I mean, it's I think that there are probably a lot of listeners to this podcast who are in your situation around the world who can relate to that. I think that this is quite I appreciate I greatly respect you for the amount of courage that took for you to correct me and to actually admit that out loud on my podcast and tell the truth about that. It's really valuable so that people can learn about how this is a really serious problem. So thank you. I immensely appreciate that. Well, um, that so how do you spend your time now? Kind of like what are your plans and how are you spending your time?